Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, formerly California.
Live.
To be somewhat specific, my name's Brian Engelman. Today is Thursday, March 13, 2025, and this is the TNAM AM Show here on the New American Media because the old American media has failed you. We're going to discuss the things happening in our universe. Of course, it is almost spring. We are live. Join us. I say to my private groups on Facebook, you should join our groups. TNAM's The Agree to Disagree Show. That's a very good one. It's almost spring, so I'm wearing my Cleveland gear, my Cleveland Indians gear. They've changed the name, went super woke and call them the Guardians now. I don't get it, since the Cleveland Indians were the first team to allow a Native American and Indian player onto their team, Louis Sockalexis. And the opposing sports writers started jokingly, mockingly calling us, oh, we're going to play the Cleveland Indians. Am I right? And so the Cleveland Spiders were like, all right, let's just call ourselves the Indians. There's like the Braves and the Chiefs and the this and the that, the Redskins. Not at that time, but it was popular to give your team a Native American name. And that was all stripped away because George Floyd, I don't know how that's related in any way, but hence this woke shirt that doesn't say Indians, it just says Cleveland. That was the transition when it's like you knew they were going to phase out the team, phase out the name. That's a whole other side issue about canceling things, changing the names of Uncle Ben's and Aunt Jemima and the Washington Redskins and changing the name of the word racism into DEI. You know, you just slap a new name on things and ta-da, meet your new boss, same as the old boss. But it is almost spring. Spring will be here this weekend. I hope you're getting outside, getting some sun, getting some fresh air. It's a new start. It's a new year. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Tonight is a supermoon, right? Tonight's full moon. Get out there, light yourself a bonfire, get some a favorite beverage. Why not? What's this? Full moon for March, expected to occur around March 29th. What is it saying? It's supposed to be today. Waxing gibbous. I thought it was there. Huh. Hang on. Next full moon. I thought it was... Yeah, 2:55 a.m. this morning, like coming up this next morning. So it's like tonight at midnight into 2 a.m. is when the full moon will be. A worm moon becomes a spooky blood moon this week. Wait, they're saying it's Friday morning. Yeah, so Thursday night, Friday morning, EDT. What is EDT? That was Eastern Standard Time. What's EDT mean? Sorry, I'm sitting here just researching. EDT, Eastern Daylight Time? In use from the second Sunday in March to the first Sunday in November during daylight savings time. This is getting a little confusing. But it's going to be called Total Lunar Eclipse, which will turn the moon a spooky blood red color. Oh, it'll look plenty big this Wednesday and Friday nights. It looks especially vast to us when it's near the horizon because of the moon illusion. So the March full moon is known as the worm moon. For hundreds of years, people across the world, including Native Americans and Eastern or Indians, Cleveland Indians, Ohio having a rich Indian native tradition, indigenous, in the eastern and central U.S., named the months after nature's cues. Each full moon has its own name, according to the Old Farmer's Almanac. The tribes kept track of the seasons by giving distinctive names to each recurring full moon. Their names were applied to the entire month in which they occurred. According to NASA, the more southern tribes called this the worm moon after the earthworm casts that appeared as the ground thawed. There you go. So get out and get yourself some moon viewing tonight. On today's show, we're going to discuss the tariff situation. Is it helping America? We're going to discuss the Democrats' plan to shut down government. All they do is destroy. All they do is divide. All they do is devolve. Oh, they're so progressive. No, I'd say they're pretty regressive. Their entire plan is to just get in the way and cause a mess. That's what they did during President Trump's first term. I was sick of it then, and I'm sick of it now. We're also going to talk about economic data that looks kind of promising. We'll unpack all of that and more. Down here at the bottom of the screen, it has our ticker. We're going to ask that you follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, and YouTube. Just search for The New American Media. On Telegram and Signal, we're at TNAM and TNAM Chat. The New American Media, TNAM and TNAM Chat. On X, we're at American_media_. And subscribe to our podcast by searching the Agree to Disagree Show on Spotify and Apple. So let's jump into the news today, shall we? By the way, leave your comments. I love getting your comments. Oh, hi, Ben. My cat is joining me for today's show. If you might hear him in the background, he's like, "Talk to me, sir." Yeah, buddy. Say something. There you go. You can hear him. He's got a lot to say. But what, you want scritches? You want the scritches? I think he does. I think he wants to be brushed. But buddy, Daddy's doing a show. Get to that in a little bit. So follow us in all the places. Also, if you appreciate what we provide with the New American Media, our donation links are here. We're on patreon.com/the New American Media, on Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App, $ Brian Engelman, and Fuzz Installment on PayPal. Fuzz Installment on PayPal. All right, let's take a look at this story. This is VA Secretary Doug Collins calling out a reporter to her face for pushing fake news about his department. Volume. There we go.
Trish, I really need to know. One of the things that I've been finding, we got into it a little bit in the discussion, but one of the issues that we're having is, and it's something here, I need your help on something. I need your help because all I seem to be doing lately is fighting back against innuendo and rumor stories. And this is what I seem to be fighting about all the time. In fact, Patricia, part of it is with you.
I'm sure.
And I just need your help because when you start headlines with, there's a rumor going around and that we've heard that hurts my veterans. That scares my veterans. That scares my employees because it's not true. Will you commit to not doing that in the future?
Well, there was a DOJ representative that day.
I have a VA employee who is our DOJ liaison. You knew that and you could ask that question.
I did ask that
But
question.
when you got the answer. But my question here is, I need you to commit to not starting off rumors began circulating.
I mean,
well, if
that's
it's either true or false, Patricia, and then you go to Patty Murphy, saying that we've heard and we have DOJ may have barged into the VA today. Unconfirmed hearsay. You know what you'd have done if I was a member of Congress and probably done that? Unconfirmed report. But you didn't put unconfirmed report.
Right.
So, Patricia, I want to work together with you.
Okay.
But I need you to commit to me that you're not going to do this.
I'm working on it.
But I do have a second thing.
She's working on it. Yep, lots of innuendo.
But
unnamed staffers say. Once again, here's another reporter who's, framing a narrative in a negative way. And I like that these secretaries, these people involved, these officials are pushing back. You have to understand that these reporters, they are actors, they're actresses, and they are trying to ruin this administration. It is literally the reason why they exist. It's why you need to stop watching them. You finally have an administration that seems to be getting a lot of things right, not everything right, but a higher batting average than any player that's been on my baseball team ever. And I'm happy about that. I would like to see more of that, not less of that. I want to win. I like common sense. I like strong currency. I like sanity. The media likes their deep state division. So here's the Secretary of Commerce schooling a CBS reporter asking if the Trump administration can be trusted.
It sounds like you're saying, trust us. And are you worried that at some point Americans are going to feel like there's a bunch of billionaires in Washington who are playing Russian roulette with our retirement?
$2 trillion deficits don't bother you at all. How could you ask me, while we're running a $2 trillion deficit, and not care? You're destroying the people who have run this country before, are destroying the future for my children and my children's children. I can't have a 50, 75, we have a $36 trillion deficit. And we used to run deficits of 400 billion. Now 2 trillion, everybody's like, who cares? I tell you what, who cares? Donald Trump cares. And when we balance the budget, you know what that means? That means our deficits stop. Interest rates come smashing down. His goal is to have external revenue. You know, the way I think about it, we all are so used to paying taxes. We're so used to it. We have like Stockholm syndrome. You know, don't stop the Internal Revenue Service, God forbid. How about this? The rest of the world leans on our economy, breathes off our economy. Not only is our economy $29 trillion GDP, but we consume $20 trillion a year. We are the buyer of everybody's stuff. We buy everybody's stuff. So who's more important? The people who sell stuff or the people who buy stuff? So we are the buyer of everybody's commodities, products, goods and services. Everything comes from us, right? Let them pay a membership fee. We all understand that model. Let them pay. How about we, you and I, and every single person we know pay less? How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security? How about all those things?
No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. Holy crap. Yeah. Why are you punishing people for working extra? You shouldn't get taxed on that. You shouldn't get taxed on a tip, on a gift. You shouldn't get taxed on Social Security benefits. What are you doing? I remember when I got kicked off of, I went from having 2 jobs when the pandemic started, a full-time job and a part-time job. I had no job from Sunday to Monday. I lost both jobs. They were shut down. Got unemployment. They were taking tax out of unemployment. What the hell do you think we need unemployment for? What are you taxing this for? This greedy need to tax at every turn has got to stop. A little bit of tossing some coins into the wishing well is fine, but this abusive debt slave system that we've settled into since 1913, the Federal Reserve, the income tax, it's madness. And here's Howard Lutnick saying, hey, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. Yeah, these are good starts. We used to be super rich. Our dollar used to go very far, so far that one person could go work and one person could stay home and raise the kids. And they could have 2 cars, a nice house in a nice neighborhood, clothing, groceries, medical, all sorts of great things. But we've lost 98% of our purchase power from that dollar in 100 years, in 112 years. Madness. So yeah, this is why they're attacking President Trump and Howard Lutnick, because they're trying to get rid of the money laundering scams that keep the deep state globalists funded. This is where they get their money. They steal it from you. Then they run up trillions on a credit card. They form these NGOs to work against you, to destroy this nation. I'm over that. I'm done with that system. How about you?
These are the kind of thoughts that will change America. I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year.
Did you hear that? No tax on anyone that makes less than $150,000 a year. You know, it's kind of tough to get by. Shit's way too expensive. Wages haven't increased with to keep up with inflation. And then the dirty deep state Democrats, along with the help of some rhinos, are putting 30 million illegal alien invaders into our country to take jobs to lower wages, using fake social security numbers from there's 30 million extra people on the social security rolls that are dead, but they're like listed as active, however that's technically phrased. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had a campaign staffer, an illegal alien, on payroll, so he had to have been using a fake social security number. Identity theft. Howard Lutnick here saying President Trump's goal is to make sure nobody making less than $150,000 pays taxes. If you got to keep your paycheck, imagine how far that money would actually go and how much easier it would be to get ahead, stay ahead, and plan for the future instead of falling behind. Imagine those stupid interest. What are we paying interest on? I want to get rid of interest. I don't like it. I never have. Can't stand it. Your mortgage is going to pay you're going to pay 2 or 3 times more on your mortgage just to interest. And for those first 5, 10, 15 years, almost everything you pay every single month is interest. Barely even a nick into principal. It's madness. This has to stop. Bring these interest rates down. Like I said, I'm only okay with about a 1% interest rate if you want to cover administrative costs to managing a loan and paperwork and computer systems and some employees and transfers and loan modifications. You need some staff to do some things. 1% should cover it. 6% on a loan, get out of here. Who thinks they're entitled to your labor just because? Oh yeah, it's interest. Gimme. How about no? How about we change our systems?
That's his goal.
So
And that's what I'm working for.
That's his goal, and that's what he's working for. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick. We can't let our government go bankrupt. The only people complaining who have no idea how businesses are run. President Trump's a businessman. He knows what he's doing, says right-winged angel. But the goal of President Trump is to remove income tax for anyone making less than $150,000 a year. Is that what the media is running around, blinking red lights at you every day, trying to scare you? He's going to take your Medicare. He's going to steal your Social Security. Yeah, Social Security is going bankrupt. It's a Ponzi scheme. It was always designed by the boomers so they could get some. They didn't care about our generation. Screw them for doing that. Yeah, you have to face some really uncomfortable truths here. But getting rid of tax? Come on. And when you see hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse and nonsense, it's unnecessary money. These are irrelevant things. If people want to fund these programs out of their own pocket, start their own nonprofit and collect donations, but to forcefully confiscate the wealth of a nation to fund these crazy ideas, I'm done.
But it sounds like you're saying, trust us. And are you
Anyway, so that was the trust us thing. Did you see this? Green flames coming out of a manhole at Texas Tech. Multiple fires reported. I mean, that looks green, right? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles down there. Someone in the comments saying it smells like gas or something in their town. Something's been slowly burning. I don't know what. There was an explosion at an electric substation. Power's out. That's all they told us. Yeah, someone else. It seems like American enemies were told to cause mayhem if Trump was voted into the White House. It can't be a coincidence that there have been so many fires praying for our country. A gas leak on campus and an explosion at a substation. Anyway, keep your eyes peeled on Texas Tech. What's up, Kenneth? Good morning. Yeah, this was just another clip where Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick saying Donald Trump plans to eliminate all taxes for people earning less than $150,000 a year. This would change the lives of more than 75% of American taxpayers. Yeah, you can vote for that. You can support that. So Fox News reporting, acting ICE Director Todd Lyons told Fox they were purposely, the Biden administration, the puppet regime of Barack Hussein Obama, they were purposely misleading the American people by categorizing individuals who were processed and then released into the interior of the United States as ICE arrests. They were lying to you. They were grabbing these people and dumping them in your city, in your kids' locker rooms, at the schools, the libraries, the parks, the back alleys, the street corners, the flop houses, the drug houses, the gang houses. Dumping these people into the interior of the United States and call them ICE arrests. No. If you arrest an illegal alien invader, you send them home. If you're importing an army of anti-American people getting ready to activate, from a Manchurian candidate to a sleeper cell army, yeah, that's exactly what you would do. So keep your head on a swivel, people, everybody. Tom Homan's talking about the problems that this has caused.
Let's talk about your governor. Your governor who stayed on national TV after NYPD were assaulted by illegal alien gang members. You had a woman burned alive by illegal alien subway. Your governor stands on national TV. I think criminal aliens should be deported. What's one of the first things she do? She goes down to New York City and tries to fire the mayor who wants to help me find public safety threats.
Yeah, they targeted him like crazy. You can always tell who they're going after. If you're taking flack, it's because you're over the target.
Let me give a shout out to Mayor Adams. Like him or love him, I called him up for 2 years by not doing enough. As a career cop, he wasn't doing enough. But when I sat down with him back in November, he came to the table. He wanted to help on significant public safety threats. He don't want to be an immigration officer. I don't want to be an immigration officer. But the mere fact he wants to get us into Rikers Island, where people are locked up because they committed a crime.
They're blocking ICE from getting people out of the jails, the illegal aliens. They need to be sent to Gitmo. They need to be sent to El Salvador. They need to be sent home to Mexico. I don't care where they're sent. Why are we paying for this?
He wanted to get federal immigration authorities back into Rikers Island to talk to illegal aliens who committed a crime against a citizen. And the governor runs down there and wants to fire him because he's working with Tom Homan? And as far as all this, well, he's making a deal because his criminal issues, I've been talking to him since November, had nothing to do with that, as far as I'm concerned. I'm happy that the mayor of New York City, the largest city in the world, is actually sitting down with law enforcement and make that city safer. He wants to be a law and order mayor. Then your mayor who says criminal aliens should be deported goes down there and wants them out of office. Then and at the same time she says it, she got a green light law, which prevents ICE and CBP, who again are focusing on national security threats and public safety threats. You can't have access to DMV data? Then I see the chief of staff say the other day, the borders should know they can get that with a warrant. Really? The ATF need a warrant? FBI need a warrant? DA need a warrant? U.S. Marshals need a warrant? This is an attack on immigration enforcement. That's plain what it is. In my day when I was an agent,
an attack on immigration enforcement. The traitors need to be held accountable. Not every treasonous act is a death penalty act, but we have to start calling out treason. We have to start imposing penalties for treason. If you're trying to subvert the will of the American people, subvert the makeup of the country, you're trying to radically transform the United States of America into something it's not, like they've successfully done in Europe. No, thank you. Like they've done in Canada. No, thank you. Like they're doing all across the planet. No, thank you. A nation is comprised of people who have similar goals, similar ideas, similar values. You start mixing too much of that together, you lose track of what it means to be a citizen of that nation. It's time for this to stop. You have to start calling out the treasonous actors already. Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, can you send me an email telling me 5 things you worked on last week? Because I'm not seeing the perp walks. It's obvious the criminal activity that's been happening for the last 2 decades and beyond, but what is taking so long to start arresting these people?
A long time ago, I never heard of sanctuary jurisdictions. Law enforcement worked with law enforcement. New York State's my home. I was born here. I was raised here. I went to college here. Great city, Utica.
Utica.
I have a summer home here now. My life's dream is to retire in this state. But I can tell you right now, this isn't the state I grew up in. It's sad. Law enforcement don't have the respect they should have. This is the finest 1% this country has, to include corrections officers. I'll say it again, President Trump's the greatest president of my lifetime.
There's a question of the day. Who is the greatest president of your lifetime? Type that in the comments. Who's the greatest president of your lifetime? My vote goes to Trump. How could it not? Who else do I have to compare it to?
As a guy who's fought border security my whole life, as a guy who stood in the back of a tractor trailer and 19 dead aliens who baked to death, including a 5-year-old little boy.
Yeah.
As a guy who's talked to young ladies as young as 9. Let's talk about your governor. Your governor who's staying on national TV.
Well, anyway, this girl's as young as 9. We put here, make a vow to never vote Democrat ever again button in the comments. There you go. Brett Lee saying the same thing. Trump administration pushing to eliminate taxes on individuals earning less than $150K a year, according to U.S. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick. Yeah, try to spin that negatively. Did you see this story? Kenneth, here's the results of our TNAM Snap poll. Who is the greatest president of your lifetime? Kenneth B2 says, I'm going to call you Kenneth B2 now. Kenneth says, Donald T. Hey, Kenneth, here's a question. Have you tried to get back in from the original YouTube account lately? Because Kenneth was like, what was it? There was a lock. They wouldn't let you link up, that you couldn't comment. So like our YouTube channels being shadow banned or something. Have you tried recently to try your original account? Or is this your new original account? I don't know where it's at. But the results of our Snap poll says Kenneth Donald T, best president of our lifetime. David Bann, I would definitely have to say Trump. I would concur. Tell me if I'm wrong. Press like, press subscribe, press the hearts button, press the thumbs up button. Follow us at the ticker at the bottom, showing you all the different places where you can subscribe to the New American Media. Yeah, I mean, not that you have to try now, but I was just curious, Kenneth, because as I read your name, I'm like, oh yeah, B2 was because there was something wrong with that other account. I wonder if that's fixed or not. I don't want to lose you here, but I am curious. Check this story out. If all you hear is bad news, let's listen to this one. ABC News reporting. An Indiana mother has been found alive in her wrecked car after being trapped for 6 days. She was very conscious, very alert, very aware of how severe her injuries were. A 41-year-old mother of 3 was found alive in a wrecked car in Indiana after being trapped for 6 days, authorities said. A worker was operating equipment for a drainage and excavation company on Tuesday when he spotted the car off a roadway, out of view from passing traffic, a local police official said. When the car was checked, he found missing woman Brianna Cassell inside, the sheriff's office said. So how about that? You know, that's hopeful, unlikely, that's surprising. Yeah, she needs to buy a lottery ticket, right? Jeez. So that's just a nice positive story, huh? Kenneth B is on his original account now. It looks like Kenneth B is on his original account now. David, do you see his comments? I think so, right? David, you're pretty sure my channel is being shadow banned? Are you pretty sure for what reason are you pretty sure that the New American Media YouTube account is being shadow banned? And yes, by the way, if I only had YouTube, I wouldn't be making content right now. They've become, oh, so you have to look hard to find the show. Yeah. YouTube is the deep state. Google, they're a terrible company. They hate us. Rumble's been great though. That's why if you guys aren't on Rumble, I would love for you to be on Rumble. Yeah, damn you, ScrewTube. So David, do you see Kenneth's comments then? Are they showing up for you? Because I can see them on the overlay. Kenneth coming in. David, do you see this? He's saying you had to look hard for the show. Damn you, ScrewTube. All right, let's go to the next story. But that's awesome. I love positive stories in the news. Like, that was unexpected. So as border czar Tom Homan is getting screamed at, and as people lash out, these paid protesters, he's smirking and eating an apple. It's the Pierre Poilievre technique. That I'm allowed to play, or is this not a song I'm allowed to play? All right, I muted it. Jeez. See, YouTube is going to say copyright. See, something played on a video that you shared for 6 seconds. Oh my God! And they'll use that as an excuse to push our content down. That's kind of like their main move. Well, one of their main moves. My comment here is that Homan is giving the paid agitators the Pierre Poilievre treatment. And we're here for it. Yeah, Pierre Poilievre famously doing an interview, eating an apple, and just being super based. Oh, check this out. Did you see this? Okay, David can see his comments. All right, cool. All right, you're subscribed, but it doesn't notify. There's two things, David. There's a notification bell. Being subscribed is one thing, but there's a notification bell. I don't know if you're on your app or on your laptop, but where it says subscribed, you can click the bell and it could see notify me of all new videos or something. So the notification bell is like notify me when they're going live or when new content's up. You may be subscribed without the notification bell. That could make a difference. Geez, I'm surprised. How do you find me all the time then? Because if you're not getting the notifications, I'm surprised anybody finds me. I'm just so used to like working in the shadows, banging out my head on a brick wall. Anyway, okay. Yes, David can see the comments. That's great. So check this out. Disney has now introduced its first openly Christian character in decades, marking a new era in representation. Disney recently introduced Lori, its first openly Christian character in nearly 2 decades, in the Pixar series Win or Lose. Lori is in middle school. She is a middle school softball player who relies on her faith to navigate personal struggles, including self-doubt and insecurity. She prays to Heavenly Father for strength and guidance, and her bedroom features angelic imagery. This marks the first explicit Christian representation in Disney, since Bridge to Terabithia in 2007, and the first prayer depiction since The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1996. The series, Pixar's first original long-form animated show, follows a middle school softball team as they prepare for their championship game. Each episode focuses on a different character's perspective and challenges. Laurie's faith is portrayed positively, though her mother is later seen engaging in non-Christian practices like tarot card reading. Disney's decision to include Laurie comes after removing a transgender storyline from the same show, sparking cultural discussions about the company's evolving approach to inclusivity and traditional values. How about that?
Character in 20 years, just months after canceling a transgender storyline from the same show. The first episode of the new Pixar Disney Plus series, Win or Lose, features a character called Laurie, the daughter of the team's softball coach who struggles with insecurity. In one of her first scenes in the show, she begins with the words,
"Dear Heavenly Father, please give me strength."
This is the first Christian character from Disney since their 2007 film, Bridge to Terabithia.
How astonishing does that... It's sort of mind-blowing, really.
Yeah, in which kids Jesse and Leslie attend church together and discuss religion.
I seriously do not think God goes around damning people to hell.
The new animated series received backlash last year when it was reported that a story arc involving a transgender character was removed from the show. A Disney spokesperson said, "When it comes to animated content for a younger audience, we recognize that many parents would prefer to discuss certain subjects with their children on their own terms and timeline." However, one transgender ex-Pixar employee said the decision to remove the storyline was 100%. Disney have introduced their...
Anyway. But to just use their verbiage against them, the stuff that they put, every storyline has to be, oh, the first this, and oh my gosh, representation. Disney introduces its first openly Christian character in decades, marking a new era in representation. Openly Christian. That's a phrase that needs to start going around. Yeah, once again, Howard Lutnick. We shared that before. All right, let's take a look at what the economic numbers are saying. CNN is even telling you something good about this administration. Are they turning the corner? They're finally doing obvious stuff. They're kind of being honest. Let's see.
We have some good news on the economy and really the number one issue for many Americans, the cost of living. So we just learned that consumer prices in February increased by 2.8% year over year, 0.2% month over month. Both of these figures were a step in the right direction, and both were better than expected. So this is definitely very encouraging to see, because it's going to, I think, relieve some fears that inflation was perhaps re-accelerating, because this actually breaks a streak of 4 straight months where I think you could see it on the chart all the way to the right, where the inflation rate was going in the wrong direction, right? It was going higher and higher. Finally, we're seeing it dip. Finally, we have some good news on...
How great is that? Shared from Graham Allen there. Benny Johnson reporting, American gas prices, aspect ratio, doggone it. American gas prices hit their lowest since March 2021. Yeah, that was right after Biden seized power in a coup, ousting the people's president. American gas prices have hit their lowest since March of 2021. Hi, Ben. Do you like low gas prices? I got cats gone wild over here. They love when I do the show. They love hearing me talk. But yeah, gas prices. Lower this stuff, man. Stop robbing us. Ahmed Y. Go side by side. Nah, I can't do side by side. I'll go top to bottom. No. U.S. gas prices hit lowest levels since March 21, according to Gas Buddy. That's a win. February CPI inflation falls to 2.8%, which is below the expectations of 2.9%. All right, that's a little win, but that's moving in the better direction. Egg prices are finally dropping. They're down 11%. That's a win. Border crossings are down 93%. That's a win. America is healing. Here's a Doge protester outside of a Tesla store saying what?
Yeah, I get paid to be out here.
You get paid to be out here?
Yeah.
Amazing. So some pack.
You really are getting paid for this?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I get paid to be out here. You're really getting paid for this? Yeah, of course. It's all astroturfed. The BLM, the anti-Doge, the anti-Tesla, the anti-Trump, it's all astroturf. It's U.S. aid money. It's sneaky government programs, money laundered, filtered back. Goes into, you donate to BLM, it goes to Act Blue gives to it, NGO, the NGO, and everybody siphons 10% off for the big guys. So everyone involved is getting their cut. And then you pay people 30, 40 bucks an hour to stand around protesting out of your own tax dollars that were stolen from you. How about that?
Oh, definitely. 100% I'm getting paid for this.
There aren't people that are against Doge stopping waste, fraud, and abuse. We got a $36 trillion credit card debt. Do you want to get paid? Do you want to have to pay more to resolve that issue? Do you want them to tax you more? Or do you want to stop the wasteful, unnecessary spending? Everyone wants to stop the wasteful, unnecessary spending, unless you're part of the grifting system that's benefiting from it. And this is this is a dying animal lashing out with everything it has, because we figured out how they funded themselves. They said it's not Soros using his own money. It's all the NGO fake money, organizations that don't do anything. They launder it here, they launder it there, they launder it everywhere. And then you have Doge protesters. Oh my gosh, I'd hate to have an efficient government. How dare they be efficient in my government? People aren't against that. People are paid to do that.
Yeah, I get paid to be out here.
So there's at least one person saying it. I don't know if he's going to get paid anymore. Dang. But whatever. Wondering why the left always needs to resort to violence and looting. 44 tires were stolen from 11 different Teslas parked in League City, Texas. Tesla Cybertrucks are being firebombed in Seattle. Yeah, this takes us back to the madness of 2020. Remember those peaceful protests?
Hey, look at this. How'd you hear about this?
This morning, just looking through my feed. Just came across some black ass shit. Well, you know exactly what happened? They threw a Molotov over.
I mean, we don't know the exact cause of this. It's still being investigated, but it appears to be arson.
It's just a solid, secure site.
It looks like this fence was opened up. It's unclear if it was like this before the fire or somebody intentionally opened it up. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this happening to Teslas? And
I just saw a bumper sticker. We got the Tesla before Elon went crazy. I was like, come on, man. It's childish, bro. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna change? Elon's his own man. He got balls, bro. He'll talk some shit and continue talking shit. This has no effect on him. This affects our community in Seattle, though. This is preposterous.
These are brand new. Still have the covers on the car seats. Do you feel like what Elon's doing with Doge is the right thing to cut government waste and spending?
Oh, bro. God bless Doge. He knows exactly what he's doing. And you can trust him in that. And anyone who says elsewise, just look at the facts, dude. Just look at the bloody facts.
Wow. As a Tesla owner, do you stick with Tesla despite all this?
Yeah, what the heck, why not?
Meanwhile, the fleet of other Teslas here are in perfect condition. In fact, these are all brand new models.
This abomination makes no sense.
All right, man. Hey, be safe, brother.
Yeah, okay, brother.
This is crazy. Dang.
Shared from Co-Show, CHOE, in Snowflake Tears, and Amjed Y. I don't know. I'm not an electric car guy. You know, look, if I had plenty of expendable, I could envision having a Tesla as a toy. That'd be fine. But I want a gas powered car. I would prefer that. And I don't really want something that could drive me backwards into a pond like Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law, allegedly. Not that that was a Tesla. Let me actually look that story up. Mitch McConnell, sister-in-law, car backward pond. 7 posts, 14 web pages. Angela Chow, McConnell's sister-in-law, shipping industry CEO, sister of McConnell's wife, died on February 11, 24, after her Tesla. Are you reading this? This is why I don't want a Tesla. After her Tesla accidentally reversed. Accidentally reversed into a pond on a private ranch in Texas. Chow, who was intoxicated at the time with a blood alcohol level nearly 3 times the legal limit in Texas, mistakenly put her car into reverse during a 3-point turn, causing it to go over an embankment and into the water. She called a friend in a panic as the vehicle sank, saying she was trapped and the water was rising, but despite efforts from friends, deputies, and emergency responders, she couldn't be rescued in time and she drowned. They called it an unfortunate accident, the Blanco County Sheriff's Office, though it was initially investigated as a potential criminal matter until evidence ruled out foul play. Prominent family ties. Her sister Elaine is a former U.S. Transportation Secretary. And it happened shortly before McConnell announced his decision to step down as the Senate Republican leader in late February 24, citing personal reflection after her death. There's no full moon connection here, but I assume your earlier question might have been a typo or a segue to this topic. Accidentally reversed narrative has raised some eyebrows. Details leave room. The car's logs confirm Chow shifted into reverse and pressed the accelerator. No signs of a software glitch or remote interference. That's what they said about Michael Hastings, that his car was seized and it was driven 150 miles an hour into a palm tree. Or a bomb detonated. Look up the Michael Hastings story. Yeah. All aboard the Nimbus. Nimbus, Kenneth says hello. Hi, buddy. I'm not cool with that. That's a good phrase. I'm not cool with that. Kenneth, did you watch my stand-up set? Did you watch my stand-up set? Anyway, that has me... I don't like a car that can be driven without my authorization. I'm very uncomfortable with that. Reed Choi doing this sketch, 2 sides of the Zelensky situation. Oval Office meeting between Trump and Zelensky summarized.
We've given you troops, we've given you money, we've armed your entire military. We are the only reason you're still alive in this war, and it looks like you're not going to win. And America has not seen a single cent of return. So we'll help you with this ceasefire, but we want a stake in your minerals.
Ceasefire. When will the lesson be learned? When will the lesson be learned? I signed a ceasefire with him in 2019, and yet he attacks. You can't reason with the tiger when your head is in its mouth.
First of all, fix your tone. We are the only reason that you are still a country.
Second, please stop pretending like you're a pure victim here, as if you have the moral high ground, parading yourself like some beacon of hope, defending democracy in the West, as if you're not just as corrupt as they are. We have given you $350 billion, and you can't account for where half of it went? The true victims here are the American people, which is why from now on we are acting on behalf of American interests first. Never forget that you need our help because you are weak and we are strong.
You tell me that the ceasefire will hold because Putin respects you. Let's just say that he does. Let's say he does respect you and the ceasefire holds. What happens when you leave office in 4 years? What then? When they replace you with some other shill, and let's say he doesn't respect this guy, then what do we do? How about by then you become a country that isn't a parasite and can fight its own battles? We've given you troops.
Damn. We said, well articulated. Zelensky made a mistake trusting the deep state Democrats. Never trust the deep state Democrats. And you never get involved in a land war in Asia. Okay, here is Catherine Herridge, a CIA whistleblower confirming the existence of directed energy weapons, I believe. Yeah, directed energy weapons. There it is. Next sentence. I closed my eyes trying to remember it, but I needed to open my eyes and read the next sentence. Directed energy weapon. If there's anyone out there who's trying to claim that's not true, they're either being paid by someone to feed you lies, or they're woefully ignorant. Of course we have these. And it was even alleged back when Obama, remember when that hurricane made that weird course correction to go hit New Jersey? Governor Chris Christie, the anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, anti-American clown. He had a few moments where I was like, oh, he's making some sense. And then you watch him go completely unhinged against MAGA. And you're like, oh, you're just a deep state puppet. Why was he walking with Obama? You know, why did they get that photo op together? Now, I get if there's a national emergency, you're going to work with the federal government. I understand the optics in that case. However, that was right before the what was that? That was Mitt Romney against Obama? And that was at a time where you really don't want to lift Obama up. Obama should have been defeated in that second term easy. After you got to see how inept and how anti-American he was, you should have been able to notice that. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of accusations that direct energy weapons are happening, and here's a conversation about it.
Injuries. Your reaction? Thank God they're saying it. Thank God they were brave enough to stand up to the CIA.
The Republican House report accuses the intelligence community leadership, the CIA, and the Director of National Intelligence of shaping a politically palatable conclusion.
If they're politicizing this, what else are they not telling the president? And that's scary. That's where it becomes like more real.
A decade ago, this national security memo confirmed intelligence about a high-powered microwave system weapon that may have the ability to weaken, intimidate, or kill an enemy over time. Nicknamed Havana Syndrome after a cluster.
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy about Havana Syndrome. Was it a thing? Was it a media story? Was it blown out of proportion? I'm not entirely certain. I'm talking about like heating up parts of the atmosphere and dragging it around and moving weather systems with it. Hurricanes, for example. There's also incendiary opportunities. I don't know, to maybe incinerate areas. Have we seen any incinerated areas like Maui and the Palisades lately? I'm not saying that's what it is, but does the technology exist? Oh, I think the technology certainly exists.
Cluster of cases in Cuba, the mysterious cognitive and neurological symptoms strike diplomatic, intelligence, and military personnel.
You were attacked. Yes. You were attacked by an energy weapon. Yes, a directed energy weapon. My ear started hurting. I started having vertigo. The room was spinning. My head started pulsing. Like, it hurt so badly. And I had a ton of pain in my left ear.
And I'll tell you what, at least this is firsthand accounting. You get these second, third-hand stories. It's really hard to track down what any of this stuff is. But at least this is a firsthand account.
And my ears started ringing. And I thought I was going to pass out.
The official name is Anomalous Health Incidents, or AHIs. The recent congressional report found they have been reported domestically as well as abroad, including Austria, China, Colombia, Georgia, Germany, India, Poland, Russia, and Vietnam.
I was serving in Africa, and I experienced an anomalous health incident in my home. Injuries.
So, yeah. Keep your eyes peeled for that story, shall we? We played this yesterday, but I'll just recap it. In a conversation with Tucker Carlson, retired Colonel Doug McGregor confirming Mexican drug cartels have Javelin missile systems that we, the United States, sent to Ukraine along the U.S. border aimed at us. He says Border Patrol and the Texas Guard confirmed 100 yards on the other side of Mexico, beyond the ridge, you'll see all of their Javelin missile systems lined up, the same missile systems we sent to Ukraine. About 50% of everything that showed up in Ukraine ended up somewhere that it didn't belong. Obama, through Biden, arming our enemies. Obama, deep state Democrats, Biden, Pelosi, Schumer. I don't know. How many other leaders do it? Victoria Nuland. They're all involved in this globalist plot to ruin this country. They pretend to be your friend, and they are not. Tom Homan's trying to do the job, and he's constantly, oh, what about child separation? How dare you separate the children? How about you reframe your question with a little bit of integrity?
You know, I always hear all the time, family separation, Homan's the godfather of family separation. Let me be clear. Zero tolerance is about saving lives. If we figure we start prosecuting people who violate the law and put the children in harm's way, maybe they stop coming. And they did. Numbers went down. It's unfortunate families got separated. But it happens to American families every day. It's going to happen in Albany today that American family will be separated by law enforcement because the child can't go to jail with a parent. But we want to talk about family separation? 500,000 children in Joe Biden were trafficked into this country. They can't find 300,000 of them. That's a separation. But you know what President Trump's committed? We're going to find them, and we're going to save them, because many of these children are in forced labor, many of these children are in forced sex slavery. We're going to save them. This administration.
There you go. We said, God bless Tom Homan. Child abusers and child trafficking are a scourge on American society and humanity in general. Time to push back and fix this deep state Democrat mess. Thank you, Tom Homan. Yeah, this was, we showed you that report from Fox about what the Biden regime, who overthrew this country in a coup in 2020. That's what I'll call it. Falsely labeling what was happening at the border to keep running through their anti-American deep state sleeper cell program.
Hi, John. Yeah, top leaders with DHS and ICE held a call with reporters to basically give an update on how things were going under the Trump administration so far. And really, one of the main key takeaways from this meeting was these officials claim that the Biden administration has been misleading the public and, quote, cooking the books when it comes to how many illegal migrants actually were arrested over the last 4 years. So these top leaders say that ICE did an internal review, found tens of thousands of cases that were labeled as arrests, but according to them, they were actually illegal aliens who were processed and then released into communities because of catch and release policies under the Biden administration.
Nobody else is giving catch and release. Oh, hey, you're here illegally. Great. Why don't you just go into the place? It's like, oh, you're sneaking into the movie theater. Cool. We'll just go watch a few movies and we'll get back to you later. No, you wait outside. You're caught. You get them out. This is why you never vote Democrat ever again.
In fiscal year 2024, ICE made 33,242 at-large arrests. So this means arrests that were made in community settings, not jails or border checkpoints. Well, compare that to so far under the Trump administration. ICE has made 32,809 of these at-large arrests. So in just the last 50 days, they're almost matching the total for an entire year, according to these officials. Here's a further breakdown of those community arrests in the last 50 days. Officials on that call told us 14,111 arrests were convicted criminals, 9,980 have pending criminal charges, and then the remaining 8,718 are immigration violators. Now, when it comes to how many of these illegal aliens have been deported,
those numbers are staggering. It's like you get a whole year's worth in 50 days, less than 2 months, if you care.
DHS and ICE leaders did not share those numbers yet with us. They did discuss one of the major issues they're having right now. That's detention centers are at full capacity right now, and they are maxed out. But yesterday, the House passed a spending bill, and in that bill, $10 billion would go toward helping ICE with things like creating more space for these detention facilities so they could actually keep these illegal aliens in custody and not have to release them because of a lack of space. John.
All right, Brooke Taylor with the latest on that. Brooke, thank you.
Man, look at him. Bright white hair, bright orange skin. Ooh, peachy. Yeah, what about these FEMA camps? Why can't they just work in FEMA camps? And while you have them, why don't you have them going alongside the roadway cleaning up trash in a chain gang? You're here illegally. You broke the law. Why don't you do something to make the country better? Why not? I think that's fair. Do you think that's fair? Put them to work instead of just being freeloaders? We said deep state Democrats ushered in an army of sleeper cells to target America and Americans. It's time to go and make this right. Full speed ahead. Senator Rand Paul says, it's amazing to me that anybody in our country who has read any of the history of socialism would want to be called a socialist. Thank you, Dr. Paul. Rooted Wings reporting Governor Gavin Newsom needs $3.44 billion for Medi-Cal. California expanded Medi-Cal last year to provide health insurance to illegal alien invaders. And now we are even more broke than we were before. See how that works? Never vote Democrat. Flee blue cities. Flee blue states. Go figure. Who would have ever seen that coming? All right, this is the clip we watched earlier, but just it jumps right to the point.
Donald Trump cares. And when we balance the budget, you know what that means? That means our deficits stop. Interest rates come smashing down. His goal is to have external revenue. You know, the way I think about it, we all are so used to paying taxes. We're so used to it.
Anyway, yeah, you have Stockholm syndrome. Trump's goal is to reduce and get rid of taxes on people making less than $150,000 a year. Bravo. This is what I was talking about earlier, how it works, how they've been destroying America intentionally. Wall Street Maverick says, we are taxed. Taxes go to U.S. aid. Leftists create an NGO. The NGO is funded by U.S. aid. Leftists in the NGO do zero real work. NGO pays the leftists huge salaries. Leftists donate salaries from the NGO to Democrats. It's why Democrats are freaking out over Trump and Elon killing U.S. aid. It's simple. This is well articulated. Vote out every leftist. Okay. Ben Berkwam here, talking about what's going on with the cartels.
It's President Trump versus Joe Biden so far.
Well, now that Trump's in, I'm getting bored because it's slowed down a lot. It hasn't stopped, but it's slowed down immensely. And under Biden, it was.
This is with Tim Foley of the Arizona Border Recon, John Shattuck, and Taya Decker.
Within one day, we ran across 250, or if not more. Now they're coming through, but they're coming through in small groups, 6, 8, 4, where it's harder to detect them. But these are also what media and the government classifies as the gotaways. These guys are not turning themselves in; they're trying to sneak in. And that's what we're going to go do. We're going to go see. I'll show you a couple spots where they're coming through.
What about the NGOs that are aiding and abetting them? What should be done to them? Who name them, and what should be done to them?
Well, we have 3 in this area. There's people helping people in the border zone. There's the Humanitarians, and there's the No More Deaths, which we classify as like the Antifa of water droppers. Now that they're shutting it down, this is when you can really tell if they're getting their info from the cartel and they're being funded by the cartel, because once it's not free-flowing everywhere and they're only coming through in certain spots, and if water keeps showing up in those certain spots because it's closing down more and more, then it's like, well, how did you know they were going to come over here? There's humanitarians.
Let's go back there real quick.
They're dumping water somewhere around here.
Just south of Arivaca. And it looks like they've got water droppers right here. We're going to try to see.
That's a dangerous thing right there. You catch these people, they might off you.
So they can't be too far up here. Here's someone.
The Americans got busted there.
See all the tracks of the illegals coming out. Here's fresh. That's a fresh sign. This is a footprint I'm following right now. Following 2 pairs of tracks. But all the rest of the tracks are probably from illegals. Gonna be right up here somewhere. They're deep. I'm at least a half mile back here now. Oh, there they are. So these are the water droppers, bringing out water for illegal aliens invading our country. You mind telling me your name?
What?
You mind telling me your name?
Bob.
Bob. What do you think about what you guys are doing, all of this activity? So the cartel controls everything in Mexico. They control a lot of what's happening here. The people that are coming through the desert typically don't want to be caught because they have a rap sheet or some back history. And you're okay with that?
I'm okay with saving people's lives.
How about you?
No comment for you.
No comment?
No.
Where are you from? Just around? And you don't feel bad that you're aiding and abetting the cartels that are trafficking women and children and drugs? Well, you owe the American people and law enforcement. Try to get back here to where they actually did the water drop and catch them on the way out. So those are 2 of them, so-called humanitarians that are directly aiding and abetting the cartels.
It's not humanitarian to encourage all this activity.
Little marker. So more than likely, the water drop is somewhere right around here, a little further up. I don't want to go too far. I don't want to lose them.
Those are feeble people. How much water could they possibly?
You see the lengths these guys will go to supply the cartel. I'm over a mile in here, and I still haven't gotten to the drop yet.
How much water?
And this is one of hundreds that these guys keep supplied, so the cartel can keep moving people. Here it is. All of this, here we go, just to trash. So this is what these guys came out to do. Right there. And by the way, this is nationally protected forest, and they're just dumping on it. And the liberal judges in Tucson refuse to prosecute. They won't even prosecute them for littering because they say it's humanitarian to help the cartels. There you go, guys. What a beautiful, you can't miss it. They've got the dates on it. Little messages to everybody there, written on the sides of the bottles. Oh, how sweet they are. Look how sweet they are. Just, their cans of SpaghettiOs. That's it. And oftentimes you'll find big crates along with blankets and other essentials. We're heading into summertime, so you don't need that as much down here. It's still cold at night, but you don't need that as much down here. So all they're giving them is food and water at that point. There may be blankets somewhere else. Sometimes they'll have extra shoes and socks. And
by the way, I mean, side note, you don't want to be drinking water that's been cooking in a plastic bottle. It's going to get all those microparticles, microplastics into your body that way. That's a great way to suck up a bunch of BPA.
Those are the enemies within. They call themselves humanitarian. Some of them, like that old man, might just be naive, but many of them work directly with the cartels. They're actually coordinating communication. They're coordinating drops. They change the drops depending on where the people are moving and where the cartels moving the people and where Border Patrol's positioned. It's a well-oiled machine run by leftist activists in America. They're also the same radical environmentalists that want to shut down your business, but they're fine trashing this wildlife refuge. They are the definition of hypocrites and traitors. So who coordinates the drops? We've got confirmation that the cartel is communicating directly with the organizations.
Yeah, so is it the cartels that are funding these people? Our comment was that these fake NGOs are traitors to America. It's time to start charging the people at these organizations with treason. Pretty consistent in my thoughts here.
No, I'm good. I want to publicly shame you for what you're doing. And you may just be naive to it. And if you are, I just want you to know you're giving direct aid and comfort to the cartels, which have been labeled terrorist organizations in America. You're also trashing the wilderness.
I have a backpack full of trash right now.
What about the trash you left out there? The bottles and the soup cans? That trash is okay, as long as it's helping the cartel. Gotcha. Sir, do you know who's coordinating the drops? Are they giving you the GPS coordinates? Is that through your organization? If you knew you were actually helping the cartels directly, would that change your mind on what you're doing? Nope. Okay.
They're good guys.
They're good guys?
Yeah.
Cool.
They're paying off Trump.
The cartels?
Yes.
You mean the one who actually shut the border?
Right, that gives them more money.
By shut.
What? No, this guy's not naive. He knows exactly what he's doing. Don't give him the kindly old gentleman treatment. This guy's a traitor.
Shutting the border gives them more money?
Absolutely.
You have not thought this through, have you?
I have thought it through.
You realize Biden gave the cartels $13 billion a year. That's why they have their arms. That's why they have the money they have. That's why they exploited all the people. That's why they raped so many women and children. So there you have it. Those are the so-called humanitarians. One of the three groups Tim was just talking about. This one, they call themselves humanitarians. All right, so what does that tell you, Tim? We just, as you're talking about these groups aiding and abetting, we get out here. I walk over a mile down a trail.
Yeah. So we're 12 miles north of the border right now. And right through there is a main route. And this right here, if they take it, will take them all the way to 3 Points, which is, it's been like this for decades.
How long has the border been a mess? And why has nobody ever cared until now?
And while we were here, we saw...
I remember during 9/11, and they're like, oh, about the border being insecure. The border's insecure. Don't they check IDs on the way in? I'd never been to the border. I've been into Canada. I hadn't been across our southern border. No, just everyone's asleep at the switch. Nobody cares about doing the job.
I saw 3 Border Patrol heading back in this dirt road right here.
So it's very possible they're going to supply, but there's also probably a group that's already out here Border Patrol's going after.
Yep. That's and like I said, we're 12 miles from the border. And so they're still coming through, and I'll show you where they're coming through once we get down to the border. You're coming across the border with your Sunday best. Those people, that's stopped. What we have here hasn't stopped, because these are the gotaways. These are ones that have been deported before, crimes in this country, crimes in their country.
You don't need people that are committing crimes.
They would be expelled immediately because of who they are. And
Arizona is a conquered state. By the way, if you want to finish watching the rest, go ahead and check it out. It's a long clip, so I'm not going to play more of that. Here's Senator Rand Paul talking about what's going on with government funding.
You know, the bill we're going to have to face this week will be continuing spending at the same level. These are the levels that were determined in December between Democrats and Republicans. These are the Biden spending levels. We know one result that will come from these spending levels, a $2 trillion deficit. So these spending levels exceed revenue by $2 trillion. There's no escaping that. So there's nothing conservative about these spending levels. No fiscal conservative should support this because it's going to borrow $2 trillion. That was the principle which once upon a time united all fiscal conservatives. So I will oppose it.
Yeah, reduce it.
You know,
come on, it's common sense. Reduce these spending bills. Fail from Speaker Johnson. I blame him the most. I blame Trump second most. I don't blame Rand Paul and Thomas Massie. I'm appreciative. We've had Clint. Let me just go back. I think if I keep it there, you can see it. Clint Russell says so. After the 24-hour meltdown, Chuck Schumer says the continuing resolution won't pass the Senate. The Democrats will own the shutdown. Massie's no vote didn't matter, and he raised over $200,000 towards his reelection. Massie gets boosted, and the government gets shut down. What a joyous conclusion to all of this. Go on Rumble and scroll back a few months. I interviewed Clint Russell shortly after the Trump assassination. Maybe, I don't know, July, August, September of last year. Yep, this will be the Democrat shutdown. Justin Trudeau stepped down in Canada, so they are saying tomorrow, well, this was a couple days ago. Justin Trudeau stepped down and unelected Mark Carney will become the new Prime Minister of Canada. We are going from a former part-time drama teacher to a self-proclaimed globalist banker with ties to the World Economic Forum. What could go wrong? What will it take for Canadians to realize that the U.S. is not our enemy? Our politicians are. Here's another one. The worst prime minister ever elected in Canada is finally done. Now, on to the worst unelected prime minister in history. Come on, Canada, get it together. Matt Gaetz doing his show now, talking about what USAID has been up to.
USAID is more like the deep state's Kickstarter, overthrowing governments they don't like. If USAID shows up in your country, probably one of two things is going to happen. Either you're about to get a gay pride parade that you didn't want, or your president might slip and fall in the shower. Was USAID involved in regime change in Ukraine? In 2014, USAID was throwing money around in Ukraine like it was a bachelor party full of frat bros at a strip club, and suddenly the government got yeeted out of office. Yeet. Some will call this the will of the people, but the $5 billion from the State Department may have been a contributing factor, according to some. The future of democracy promotion has to be better than USAID overthrowing governments and installing CIA-backed Starbucks in Kyiv. USAID is more like the deep state's Kickstarter.
Yeah. Matt Gaetz using the term yeet. Here's Australian Senator Ralph Babbitt. He's making sense.
To tell everyone at home that's watching this right now, and I'm sitting in my nation's capital now, and I'm telling you from my experience, the people that you elect to run your country are puppets. They are not the true wielders of power. Donald Trump likes to call this the deep state. And I'm going to tell you now that the deep state is alive and well in Australia, and it is alive and well in the UK. Of course, it's alive and well in the United States. We're all seeing that play out right now. So do everything you can, everyone that's watching this broadcast, everyone that's hearing my voice, you must be more involved in the political process. You must take action. You need to be active, because if you're not active, the people behind the scenes that sit in the shadows, and they are there, that control the levers of power, that control, I believe it's Rishi Sunak who's in charge.
Rishi Sunak, yes, he was put in place, no doubt, by the deep state because we didn't vote for him to be prime minister.
Well, exactly. The people behind the scenes that pull those strings, they don't have your best interests at heart. And I choose my words very carefully here. They don't have your best interests at heart. No. These authoritarian tyrants want nothing but to see you be a serf, be a slave, be a peasant while they sit at the top of the pinnacle of power. And they use their agents in the parliament to bring that to pass. So do not be complacent. Get active, join a party, run for parliament, make your voice heard, because the West, all of the West, is looking down a barrel right now. I'm going to tell everyone at home.
Yeah, we said the MAGA movement is global. Prioritize freedom, reject and defeat the deep state. The time is now. Full speed ahead. This is our best chance ever to correct some of this stuff. Oklahoma House has passed a bill requiring convicted child abuse offenders, to undergo chemical castration before they could become eligible for parole. Man, that's a great idea. Obama's former, this is all from Miss Muckraker. Obama's former chief of staff and Biden's ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, plans to run for president in 2028. Good luck with that. What is this? Oregon Mental Health Advisory Board includes a member who identifies as a turtle. What are we doing? A member advising Oregon's Health Authority, OHA, on best practices and policies in mental health identifies as a terrapin species. J.D. Holt, who goes by the name J.D. Terrapin, uses turtle pronouns. Hello, everybody. It's J.D. I use they, them, and turtle for my pronouns. He is part of a panel of experts advising the state on mental health. This person apparently needs mental health. You're not a turtle. This is lunacy. Gavin Newsom claimed that not one person ever in my office has ever used the word Latinx. Problem is, he literally did it himself. All Democrats do is lie. 31% Latinx. Disproportionately impacts the Latinx community. Yeah, that's not a term. Stop using it. Latino, Latina. Male and female. Masculine, feminine. Have you ever been nice when you should have been mean? Yeah, all of a sudden, Democrats are okay with the government shutdown. Senator Chuck Schumer says the Democrats' plan to block the passage of the continuing resolution bill will trigger a government shutdown. Yeah, how quickly the shoe's on the other foot. A reporter asks Tom Homan, do you think local law enforcement has the resources to both cooperate with ICE and conduct public safety? Homan says, you're running around arresting the same guy 5 times. Arrest them once, give them to us, and you don't arrest them anymore. That was my biggest problem in one of my biggest problems in Los Angeles. They would arrest the same guy over and over and over. I know, a turtle, really? This just in, Nimbus. He jumped up to say hi and he jumped back down his vest. Thanks for joining, buddy. Yeah, they would arrest these same people over and over and over, and they just keep dumping them back on the streets. Like, keep them locked away, and we won't have to keep arresting them. They're a menace to society. That's what George Soros-approved district attorneys do. They want your communities terrified by a couple of goofy weirdos, some violent, mentally ill lunatics. Trump has just threatened the European Union with tariffs of 200% on all wine, champagne, and alcohol products coming from the European Union in response to their 50% tariff on whiskey. All right, you want to play that game? Let's play that game. Don't mess with our whiskey. Michelle Obama. Obama's new podcast, IMO, gets only 12,000 views in 14 hours despite mass marketing campaigns. What is this? Yep. Okay. All right, then. The European Union, one of the most hot, this is from Donald Trump, President Trump, today at 8:00 a.m. The European Union, one of the most hostile and abusive taxing and tariffing authorities in the world, which was formed for the sole purpose of taking advantage of the United States, has just put a nasty 50% tariff on whiskey. If this tariff is not removed immediately, the U.S. will shortly place a 200% tariff on all wines, champagnes, and alcoholic products coming out of France and other EU represented countries. This will be great for the wine and champagne businesses in the U.S. Okay, here's a little point of contention. As my brother was a sommelier, champagne, to be called champagne, must come from the Champagne region in France. Everything else is sparkling wine. But, I mean, you know, it's the same thing. Just a little point of clarification there at the end. Ben Bankus says, so Canada's propaganda machine is in full swing, portraying the U.S. as an enemy while ushering in a new prime minister nobody voted for with no election in sight. S-I-G-H-T, not S-I-T-E, as China puts 100% tariffs on Canada with zero pushback or media attention. Got it. New prime minister is a joke.
Trying to explain a bit of how the economy works. One of the
Thank you
issues
so much.
It may help.
Our economy is stronger than the American economy.
That was Pierre Poilievre.
Our economy was weak before we got to the point of these threats from President Trump.
Okay, but you acknowledge that the consumer would pay more at some point.
Well, the consumer is already paying more.
It seems to me you might have gotten even worse with this guy because he looks a little bit more sane, or his affect is a little bit more sane, but it seems like it's going to be the same results.
Here's what scares me about Mark Carney. He's a board member of the World Economic Forum. He's a globalist with 3 passports.
Now, didn't Tulsi Gabbard, didn't she have ties to the World Economic Forum? Which I had concerns about as well.
Left Canada decades ago to become the head of the central bank in England. I don't think he's lived in Canada in more than 10 years. His wife continues to live and work in New York City. I think that's actually where he hangs out. He was installed as our prime minister. No Canadian has ever voted for him. He's never won elected office. The vote that put him in, children as young as 14 were allowed to vote in the Liberal primary. Foreign citizens were allowed to vote. This guy was
foreign citizens can't vote and children can't vote. What is wrong with these people?
Immediately catapulted to prime minister. He hasn't been vetted. He's made public statements about he's going to double down on woke. He's not going to follow America's path. He used to run a mini BlackRock called Brookfield Asset Management, where he would push ESG into any companies they manage. It was like Larry Fink of BlackRock, just a little bit smaller. I would say the closest comparison is Larry Fink of BlackRock. BlackRock Mini, called Brookfield, just acquired Canada.
I'm trying to explain a bit of how the economy.
There you go. Sorry, Canada. Fix your shit. Wall Street Mav said this, and buddy, hi, welcome back. Thanks for stepping on my my 2 phones over here. Appreciate it. Wall Street Mav says, we hated Obama like you hate Trump, except we hated Obama because he hates America. You hate Trump because you hate America. Does that make sense to you, buddy? Does that make any sense to you? Nimbus doesn't get it. Nimbus gets occasional head scritches. But he doesn't get the anti-Trump, anti-America hate. Fox News is reporting. I don't think I saw. I was trying to find yes. Then he puts his hand out like, hi. Hello, sir. I was trying to find confirmation of this story, but Fox News says the Eagles have enthusiastically accepted White House invitation after their Super Bowl win. All right, looking forward to that. Hopefully these days of grandstanding against Trump and these sports teams not going because of LeBron James or something. Get out of here with that crap. Yes, hi. Back to what? You want more scritches? All right, we'll try to do scritches and shows at the same time. Janet Mills. I've heard this story reported several times. Is that a woman or a guy in drag? This is the one from Maine that President Trump accosted. Said, you're not going to get federal funding anymore if you allow men to compete against women in sports. I wonder why that could be.
Janet Mills, the current governor of Maine.
This is being reported from Fosnots.
A year before she took
But I've been seeing this story a lot of places, so let's dig in and investigate.
office, her brother, Peter Mills, received $22 million through a shell company called Western Mountains and Rivers Corporation. This company also received 670 acres of land on the Dead River, all courtesy of a company called Central Maine Power. When Janet Mills assumed office a year later, she immediately approved CMP to clear cut an 145-mile corridor through western Maine without the endorsement of any of the localities affected, who were all in major disagreement with the decision. And that $22 million that was supposed to be spent on the towns appears to have been pocketed by this shell company run by Peter Mills, rather than being spent on the people it was actually supposed to. When I reached out to Western Mountains Corp to verify where the funds were spent and the status of the land, my request was ignored, and there exists no information on the firm's website either. This is a clear example of political corruption in the state of Maine and deserves to be investigated further, in my opinion. What do you all think?
So now all eyes are on this governor of Maine, trying to figure out what shady deals they might have been doing. This right here is just reiterating what we covered a moment ago. Whoop, hold on, cancel. Go back. There we are. Oklahoma House has passed a bill requiring convicted child abusers to undergo chemical castration before becoming eligible for parole. I'm telling you, this is the way. The recidivism rate is through the roof for those people. They're not fixable. If they're going to damage a child once, they're going to do it again. Not Kenny Rogers here says, if you work for the Department of Education and you're posting on Twitter about how angry you are about losing your job, please realize that only 27% of school-age children between 4th and 12th grade will actually be able to read it. That is savage. Yeah, the Department of Education has failed us all. Break it apart. Let's do better. Cat Turd here showing a picture of crying Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Says, the face you make when people find out you are paying an illegal alien on your staff $80,000 per year in taxpayer money, and he likely had a fake social security number so that he could receive the payments. Oh, yeah. Investigate that. Matt Van Swole says, I just drove down the road to get groceries for my family in Western North Carolina. Here's what it looks like. Don't you dare tell me I have to continue funding a war in Ukraine when my town looks like this. Fair.
Isn't it
Laura Ingram kind of pointing out, isn't it great? I agree, it is great.
great to have an optimistic president who has a real plan to make life better for Wall Street and Main Street? Just ignore the sky is falling reports in the regime press. Tune out the breathless reporting about market gyrations, because even the most dedicated globalists, they know Trump is good for business. Isn't it great to have an optimistic president who...
It is so great having an optimistic president. I like it. I feel more optimistic. Janet Mills is a pain in Maine. Hey, EU, F you. Yeah, David talking about a turtle, really? Mental health is definitely needed for that person. She's someone's turtle dove. Yeah, and a partridge in a pear tree. Why was the 12 Days of Christmas all about giving birds? Or mostly about birds? French hens, turtle doves, and a partridge. Like, what's with why? David saying government shutdown equals arrests. I feel like a good time to make a mass arrest would be at a congressional hearing. Just go in and swoop them all up. Bella's Chance, Michelle. Decepticon Bites. What is this? Deception Bites. Canadian podcaster and all-around great lady says M. Carney is 1,000 times worse than Trudeau. 1,000 times worse than Trudeau? If Trudeau wasn't so bad, I could see it, but yeah, anytime World Economic Forum shows up, you know, resist. When is the next Canadian election? I heard that it's not scheduled. I also read that it can't be held later than, I think it was October 25th. Not entirely sure how the system works over there, but you guys need to get this puppet out and get Pierre Poilievre in there immediately. We need strong neighbors to the north, please. All right, Chuck Schumer destroying his career over continuing resolution voting on live TV.
Funding the government should be a bipartisan effort. But Republicans chose a partisan path, drafting their continuing resolution without any input from congressional Democrats. Because of that, Republicans do not have the votes in the Senate to invoke cloture on the House CR. Our caucus is unified on a clean April 11th CR that will keep the government open and give Congress time to negotiate bipartisan legislation that can pass. We should vote on that. I hope our Republican colleagues will join us to avoid a shutdown on Friday. Funding the government should be a bipartisan effort, but Republicans chose a partisan path, drafting their continuing resolution without any input from congressional Democrats. Because of that, Republicans do not have the votes in the Senate to invoke cloture on the House CR. Our caucus is unified on a clean April 11th CR that will keep the government open and give Congress time to negotiate bipartisan legislation that can pass.
All right. Let's see how this plays out for the Democrats. All they do is get in the way. All they do is divide and throw up roadblocks. It is their main strategy. Number one main strategy. Donald Trump says the U.S. doesn't have free trade. We have stupid trade. The entire world is ripping us off. I mean, it's not like he's wrong about this. And so, yeah, some of these tariff wars, they go back and forth and it gets a little dicey for a minute, right? But it's all part of the process. How are we going to unplug everything unless we actually unplug everything? It just needs to happen. I've been seeing this reported on several different times. New York Post here saying that a massive stretch of Amazon rainforest has been destroyed for an upcoming COP30 climate summit 4-lane highway. Is this true? Tens of thousands of acres of protected Amazon rainforest being cleared and paved over to build a new 4-lane highway for, of all things, the upcoming Brazil climate summit, COP30. The 8-mile stretch of new highway has gouged a deep gash through a large swath of Amazon rainforest just in time for world leaders to convene to discuss how much they care about the Amazon rainforest. Photos published by the BBC show the bare corridors where heavy machinery ripped through the lush, unspoiled landscape now littered with log piles. The sound of insect chirps and bird songs replaced by a chorus of rumbling diesel engines and the whine of hydraulic excavators gutting the forest floor. The state government has repeatedly insisted the highway is sustainable, but that rings hollow to the locals and conservationists who are condemning the project. Everything was destroyed, says Claudio Verrecat, who lives about a quarter mile from the roadway in progress and is used to make a living harvesting acai berries from the trees near his land, which are no longer standing. Now, I don't know. I'm going to call a little bit of cap on this. Far be it from me to, go against a good narrative, but I'm just calling it as I see it. There are parallel lines of electrical lines running this exact route. If they put up power lines going from here to there, isn't it assumed that you would also have a roadway next to these to connect here to there? If you're connecting here to there with electricity, you're probably going to want to connect here to there with transportation. So I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But it is a silly look. Gouging the rainforest. Anyway, something to consider. I saw it reported. Looked interesting. The Real State of America reporting that the Department of Education has laid off 48% of their workers. DOE initiated mass layoffs on Tuesday, reducing its workforce by nearly 48%, sources told ABC News. The reduction in force notices began to go out about 6 p.m. Some 1,315 employees affected by the RIFs, leaving 2,183, almost 2,200 employed by the department, according to senior officials at the DOE. Impacted staff will be placed on administrative leave starting March 21st. Statement from the Education Department said they'll receive full pay and benefits through June 9, senior officials added. Statement also said the DOE will continue to deliver on all statutory programs that fall under the agency's purview, including formula funding, student loans, Pell Grants, funding for special needs students, and competitive grant making. Today's reduction in force reflects the Department of Education's commitment to efficiency, accountability, and ensuring that resources are directed where they matter most, students, parents, and teachers, said Secretary of Education Linda McMahon shortly after the notifications went out on Tuesday. I appreciate the work of the dedicated servants. Downsizing impacts every sector of the department in some way. It's primarily a streamlining effort for internal-facing roles and not external-facing roles. Boom. Here's the Department of Agriculture. Want to hear what they were funding?
Hi, everyone. This is Brooke Rollins coming to you from the United States Department of Agriculture here in Washington, D.C. for your DOGE update. Until today, USDA was funding a $397,000 grant in the San Francisco Bay Area to educate queer, trans, and BIPOC urban farmers and consumers about food justice and values-aligned markets. By stopping this wasteful spending here at USDA, we are ending identity politics and we are refocusing our agency on its core mission of supporting American farming, ranching, and forestry. Stay tuned for more updates coming soon. Hi, everyone.
There you go. Bravo. Focus on what matters, not on what divides. But they're addicted to division. If they didn't have us divided, they wouldn't be able to get away with so much money laundering. So a commentator, Daniel Davis, had an offer at Director of National Intelligence, but that's been rescinded. New comments from GOP senators raised concern about his selection. Miami Beach mayor moved to end O Cinema lease after screening of an Israeli-Palestinian film. There's a group, Stop Anti-Semitism, deeply concerned by Kingsley Wilson's appointment as deputy press secretary for the Pentagon, saying he spread debunked lies and claimed that organizations worked with the Klan and Masons to stop American Revolution, opposes U.S. aid to Israel. What? You're deeply concerned about the appointment of a guy because they oppose aid to Israel? I'm sorry, where is that something that needs to happen? I mean, it's an organization here, apparently, that, because in America, we're MAGA first, making America great again. We care about America. Pushing a replacement theory. Yeah, that's what Obama did. That's what Biden did. Mayorkas. Here, let me play you a clip. You replacement theory, you're calling that anti-Semitic. What a weird thing to say. Here, let's do a search. Whites, minority, Biden, Mayorkas. Here, is this a conspiracy theory or what are you talking about? Because this is Biden in his own words here.
An unrelenting stream of immigration. Non-stop. Non-stop.
Look at how giddy this frog face Mayorkas is here. Former Department of Homeland Security. The man in charge of the border. These people are grinning ear to ear about replacing Americans with millions, tens of millions of non-Americans. That's a replacement theory. That's not a theory. That's a policy. It's a Obama, Biden, Mayorkas replacement policy. Those jobs reports from the last couple of years, these are jobs that were going to foreigners, non-Americans, replacing Americans in the workforce. Hang on, here he is, Biden in his own words.
An unrelenting stream of immigration. Non-stop. nonstop.
Who would ever want that? You want a small number of the best and brightest who go through the process, criminal background checks, health background checks, financial health background checks, ones that are going to contribute and not take, people that are going to learn the Bill of Rights, the civil liberties that we have here in America, that are going to defend our values, use English as the national language, and assimilate to become American. You don't want an endless barrage of nonstop alien invasion. No way.
Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority.
An absolute minority. Why did clip right there?
For the first time in 2017, we'll be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America from then and on will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
That's not a bad thing to lose majority status of your nation. What did he say at the end? That's our strength? Losing majority status is a strength?
That's a source of our strength.
Whose strength? Mayorkas? The people he works for? No, I'm not buying that. Thanks, but no thanks. So I don't know about this Kingsley Wilson. I just know some of the people yelling loudly, oh no, he opposes sending American dollars outside of America. Yeah, we all oppose that. Oh my gosh, the replacement theory, that's anti-Semitic, huh? Is it? It's anti-common sense, but it's anti-Semitic to point out that American workers are being replaced in America. Now, I'm not buying that at all. But now I'm instantly suspicious of this group, Stop Anti-Semitism, Stop Anti-Semites. No, that's policy problem. Biden was promoting that policy. We're going to force feed the demographics of America to change it from the outside. I'm not for that. The Intercept is reporting that Fetterman staff have quit amid frustration over just working on Israel all the time. Fetterman having a single-minded focus coming at the exclusion of the progressive positions he ran on. Aren't we making America great again? Why are we spending all of our time with foreign nations? Put your head in the sand. Hey, we got to call stuff out as we see it. We got to talk about what's going on, and we care about America. That's the number one thing we're worried about here is America and America first. So when I see too many people causing problems and arguing about things that are pretty common sense and making weird accusations, I have interesting thoughts about those organizations. All right, we're switching from our Instagram feed to our X feed here. Let's go at American_media_. By the way, at the bottom, those are ways you can support the New American Media. Linking up with us on Patreon, Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. Rolling at the bottom of the ticker. All right. Yep, we just shared that Joe Biden clip, that weird one. Shared a couple of our recent shows. Good Riddance Canada under new temporary leadership. Check out that show from a couple days ago. Here's Elon Musk talking with President Trump about what he's going to do to increase auto production in the United States.
As a function of the great policies of President Trump and his administration, and as an act of faith in America, Tesla is going to double vehicle output in the United States within the next 2 years.
That's a big deal. That's great. Thank you. And by the way, he makes one car. This one I don't understand. This one I don't want, but that's okay. Without a steering wheel. It comes out next year, right?
Yes.
Explain that, please.
Yes. Well, the Cybercab starts production in Texas next year, and it's self-driving. We have so much confidence in the self-driving nature of it that it'll actually not have a steering wheel. It will not have pedals. It'll either self-drive or not drive at all, but it'll self-drive.
President Trump, and I'm going to pass on that particular.
I'm going to pass on that too. Thank you very much. But yeah, check out our show from 2 days ago. Elon Musk, public enemy number one, targeted by the deep state. Coming on the heels of an InfoWars reporter being murdered at his home in his parking lot. They said it was people carjacking. It was people stealing his car, and then they killed him. Or was it made to look that way? And then another person from InfoWars was swatted twice in the same day. That's where people call in and claim to be the person at the house, claim that they're armed and they're going to hurt their family and then themselves. So at 2 a.m, they show up with loudspeakers demanding they come out of their house with their hands up so they can get handcuffed. That is an attempted assassination, by the way. And that's where we covered this one. Attacks connected. InfoWars, Tesla, COVID, Luigi, Christians, Trump twice, wildfires, hurricanes. Are all of these attacks connected? I don't know, but let's talk about it. The FBI getting involved here.
A Fox News alert and some breaking news from the FBI. Director Kash Patel posting on social media that a high-ranking official at Customs and Border Protection is facing criminal charges.
Patel saying, quote, a career director level employee allegedly attempted to defraud FEMA and allegedly lied to federal agents in the process.
All right. Nothing that happened to this country, says Charlie Kirk, happened without people in power who let it happen. We're not letting him get away with it anymore. All right, cool. Cool story, Charlie Kirk. Where's the Epstein list? Where's the Diddy list? What do we know about Michael Hastings, Seth Rich, Gonzalo Lira, 9/11, MLK, RFK, JFK? What do we know? We're still waiting on this transparency and not letting him get away with it, because it sure seems like a lot of people have gotten away with things. Dr. Stella Emanuel says, I will never forget these horrendous comments that Jimmy Kimmel made. Neither should you. He said, unvaccinated people shouldn't get intensive care unit beds in hospitals in 2021. Rob Schneider says, Jimmy Kimmel never apologized for these outrageous scapegoating and dangerous comments. Jimmy Kimmel is a coward. Let me quote it and tag him at Jimmy. Question for at Jimmy Kimmel, will you apologize for making these comments? Thanks. All right. Made a direct request. I wasn't an asshole in it. I just asked him. Sometimes people respond back if you're not a jerk to them.
Teslas, they're cool cars.
Here's CNN, their panel. Here's Scott Jennings. They're talking about Teslas and Donald Trump.
But the president is clearly trying to do his friend, political donor, actually government employee, a pretty big favor here for his private business.
It's hardly the first time we've had cars on the South Lawn. Man, here's a video of Joe Biden driving a Jeep Rubicon around the South Lawn. I mean, it's pretty common.
And President Trump did it before in his first term as well.
It's pretty common for the President of the United States to boost American industries, American-made products, and companies that are, employing Americans. It's extremely common. He obviously has a close relationship with Elon, who, by the way, is, I think, unfairly under attack. And this company is unfairly under attack. You have these insane people all over the country chasing people down in their Teslas in New York City. I had a friend who tried to trade his Tesla in New York the other day, and there were protesters screening at his children.
Look,
These
people
are unhinged,
there is some
and they deserve support from the government. Let's be completely unhinged.
Clear that let's not skirt over the fact that Elon Musk spent $250 million to elect Donald Trump.
So you're against an American company?
No,
that's not. You don't want the government to support this?
There you go. Billboard Chris shares that this is from Western Standard. Trudeau spent 11. I start my eyes gloss over when the zeros start going. That's $11 billion on overseas gender programs. Okay, I'm sorry. All I had to read was the headline. I was looking at the post. That's the second time today I've looked at the wrong thing. But yes, $11 billion on overseas gender and feminist initiatives. Yeah, it's called money laundering. Not surprised. Mila Joy saying the following people lied to Congress and none of them went to jail. James Comey, Christine Blasey Ford, Peter Strzok, John Brennan, James Clapper, Andy McCabe, Eric Holder, Bruce and Nellie Orr, Rod Rosenstein, Susan Rice, and Samantha Power. The following people lied to Congress and none of them went to jail. We replied, yet. Hopefully, maybe so. Natalie Winters says, meet the federal judge who just blocked President Trump's cuts to DEI teacher training. Yeah, no more racism, please. His resume is full of DEI activism. He served on the board of groups currently suing President Trump and trained far left activists how to avoid arrests during protest. Honorable Mayang Jae-jun. And there's a thread. Go find it. You remember when Obama had to get elected at the beginning and had to lie to your face? Kathleen is calling him a hypocrite, but he just had to lie. So much so that by his third term, you could say his third term was behind the scenes derailing Trump's first term, impeaching him twice. You could say his fourth term was the Obama shadow puppet presidency. But however you want to call it, Obama's third term, I call it his third and most honest term. He took all the masks off. He was exactly who he always wanted to be, but he got to blame the old feeble white guy for it. Oh God, him and his speechwriters had to love making Biden say all these ridiculous things. But here's what Obama used to sound like.
The Bush administration has done nothing to control the problem that we have. We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem.
And this was when Barack Hussein Obama was trying to defeat Hillary Rodham Clinton. Remember, the Clintons, Bill Clinton, he actually, the Elian Gonzalez stuff, like the 1990s Democrats were kind of like MAGA of today. They were sort of common sense. They were always dumb on a lot of issues, don't get me wrong. But yeah, Hillary is kind of from the Clinton tree, obviously. And so Obama had to pander to like the common sense part of that party. I don't know if there's any common sense people left in the Democrat Party today. Obama being Obama, honest Obama, that's pushed everybody away. The Obama doctrine has been resoundingly rejected.
And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not paying the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. And so what we have to do is create a comprehensive solution to the problem. Now, I have already stated that as president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need. That's step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker. That has to change. They have to be held accountable.
My, oh my, have things changed. Once again, talking about positivity. Here's Grant Cardone talking with Laura Ingraham about the MAGA agenda.
I talk to business leaders every day. They're extremely bullish on the direction of the company, the cuts that are being made. DOGE is a positive thing. Anybody that's ever run a company, not a politician, but really run a company, or controlled an environment, or in this case, an entire country, knows that you have to get rid of the bad leadership. You got to cut out the fat, and then you rebuild the culture. And America wants that. They voted for it. I'm for it. And I believe that the second quarter of this year will be a phenomenal, robust, expanding economy. We're already seeing that happen now.
Yeah, so let's see if they unleash COVID part 2, because that's what happened last time Trump was crushing it in the economy and everything was chugging along, making sense. Oh, they hate that. They got to keep their power and control any means necessary, even trying to off President Trump twice on this election tour, at least 2 that we know of, at the golf course and in Butler, Pennsylvania. Yeah. U.S. isn't bullying Canada. They're charging us 250% tariffs on milk, 300% on butter, 200% on whey, 241 on cheese. Yeah. Talking about the Department of Education, here's Kevin Leary speaking about, look, why is everything failing?
Worked in the education system for 14 years. There's 110,000 high schools in America. The majority of them are in New York, Florida, Texas, and California. Our reading and math scores are the worst in the G7 and the G20 in terms of how many dollars we spend to advance our children. Okay. Why? Unions. Unions that keep mediocre teachers in place in every high school in America, when we should be firing them. You want to talk about whack as our theme tonight's show? I would like to fire teachers that don't wait. And I'd like to pay a lot more to the teachers that advance math and reading scores, that push our system forward against every G7, G20 country. We have broken the system long ago through unions, and this is very unpopular.
But what are those cuts actually?
What it means is
the
lowest paid person in America that deserves a lot more money is a great teacher.
I agree. As
and
a former
we can't, in the system of unions in America, we keep mediocrity festering, destroying the education of children.
Let me just tell you how
Yeah. The unions are protecting the bad ones and not allowing the good ones to rise. That's not a good system.
Now we're all about cutting waste years ago.
Yeah, the people opposing Doge now, they were all about it.
We simply must make the cuts in waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare. We owe it to our country.
There is an
Yeah, and you gotta cut the bloat to save Medicare. Okay, cool.
an enormous amount of waste and fraud and abuse in this government. When there is waste and fraud, you have an administration who should also be on top of that situation.
If we're going to eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare, it does mean we're going to cut some of that out. We want to cut the bad stuff and keep the good stuff.
Wow, that sounds familiar.
Oh my gosh, we got to start burning Teslas, right? Because Elon's working to eliminate unnecessary spending in order to save Medicare. These people are so stupid, these Democrats.
And now it's finally happening, and guess who's rooting against it? Those assholes. Yeah. Put that picture up again. That's waste, that's fraud, and that's abuse. All right.
Very Curly and Moe. Well, I certainly. Yeah. Here's Anna Paulina Luna, one of the superstars in the MAGA movement.
Well, the fraudulent spending of $32 million out of the pockets of our American people and threw it down the drain to knowingly chase ghosts, all for political gain.
By the way, I'm just settling in on this aspect ratio. I know it's clipping off the side of it, but if the video works, I'm just rolling with it. I just don't have a good option to keep the chat overlay, which I'd prefer. It just shifts it a little bit. My ADHD brain, my aesthetically pleasing brain, does not like having some of that cut off, but I'm going to deal with it. It's the best I can do with what I got with the tools available to me at the moment. Back to Anna Paulina Luna.
This man occupied a position of the highest
Talking about Adam Schiff, by the way.
trust and authority. As chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff launched an all-out political campaign built on baseless distortions against a sitting U.S. president at the expense of every single citizen in this country and the honor of the House of Representatives. With access to sensitive information unavailable to most members of Congress and certainly not accessible to the American people, Schiff abused his privileges claiming to know the truth, while leaving Americans in the dark about this web of lies. Lies so severe that they altered the course of the country forever.
They did. She entered into the record the $32 million Adam Schiff misappropriated during the Russia collusion hoax, and he must face justice. Here's a Cuban woman talking about what it really means to deal with a dictator.
Imagine telling someone who was born in a dictatorship that Donald Trump is a dictator. If any Cubans or anybody else who was born in a dictatorship, had gone through a dictatorship, hears what you're saying or reads what you're saying, I guarantee you they are cracking up right now. All I do is laugh on this app every day. You guys make me laugh so much because I'm like, oh my God, the privileged Americans have no idea. They're cosplaying oppression and they don't know the first thing about being oppressed. A dictator, really?
Tucker Carlson, he says, I give up. We've asked this guy many times, talking about Eye Patch McCain here, Dan Crenshaw, to have a direct conversation. He won't come without a bodyguard. Pathetic. But honestly, I'd still like to hire him as a financial advisor. He's the man you need picking your stocks in a bear market. Pierce Morgan Uncensored. Talking about that topic.
You know, he's begged us to go on his show since that.
Tucker Carlson. So here's Eye Patch McCain, Dan Crenshaw saying that Tucker has begged to get him on the show.
You know, he's begged us to go on his show since that time. We said, look, why don't you do? How about a moderated debate? And he said, oh no, we're not going to do that. So you know, he's not. I don't think he's a very serious person. I think he used to be. Don't see that anymore, right? It's like I'm out of control.
Right? No, not right. He's not a serious person, right? No, I dislike when people use that phrase.
I think he used to be. Don't see that anymore, right? It's like I'm out of control on Twitter because every once in a while I respond harshly to lies told about me. Yeah, I just don't take it lying down. Yeah, that's me. No, I apologize to no one for it.
Okay. Jasmine Crockett reportedly received $16,000 in political contributions from a retired elderly couple. Sheldon Daniels, who's running against Jasmine Crockett, went to their house to confirm the contributions, and they had no idea what these charges were. So check that video out, and please retire Jasmine Crockett. She's awful. Here's one of the superstars, Tim Burchett, making it count.
Congressman, why do you think Democrats are trying to shut down the government?
Because I think they're trying to inflict as much pain in a political type situation, and that's very pitiful. And also, they want to shut down Doge because it's getting very close to home, and they know it. They're getting calls from their big contributors saying, hey man, we're getting this federal money, and y'all getting ready to cut it off. We're not going to be able to feed the trough, the campaign trough.
Thank God. This is what Mahmoud Khalil's group did at Columbia. Okay. This is what, an Islamic invasion here? What is this? Mahmoud Khalil's group at Columbia? Palestinian... Okay. Yeah, I think this has crossed the line from just peaceful protest into domestic terrorism. DC Drano saying, I'm old enough to remember when Democrats called these types of people insurrectionists. Now it's free speech. Got to be consistent, y'all. Nick Sortor here, saying, WTF, a federal judge just ordered Pete Hegseth to retract a post about disqualifying transgender troops from service. This same Biden judge, Anna Reyes, also said the idea of two sexes is not biologically correct, but that's a blatant lie. How the hell is this activist still considered a judge? What the F is going on? Kennecoa the Great reporting. James Comer reveals that banks submitted hundreds of suspicious activity reports on ActBlue to the Treasury Department. The way ActBlue set up their accounts, it would be really easy to launder money through fake credit cards and fake names. Feel like it's all coming down. Alex Jones reporting that U.S. intelligence is warning that Ukrainian and NATO terrorists are targeting the Trump family and American journalists for death. And they did just take out somebody just murdered an InfoWars reporter, and somebody else swatted another InfoWars reporter. Doesn't seem coincidental. Seems very, very planned. Hey, here's your moment of zen. Oh, Canada, newly installed Prime Minister Carney demanded all microphones be shut off during Steelworker event and refused to take questions after. Like Biden and Harris, he can't withstand any scrutiny. Imagine taking no questions after being installed. It sounds like a coup. Here you go, Canada. Do better. Yep, this is just Secretary Lucknick saying Trump's goal. I'll repeat this. I've shared it a few times. I'll repeat it. Trump's goal is to stop anyone paying taxes if they make less than $150,000 a year and force other countries to pay a membership fee to sell in America. He wants external revenue service, not internal revenue service. Here's a 6-minute clip about why Democrats are trying to destroy him. Watch it, because he's exposing the machine that's been stealing from your pockets to fund your enemies. Elon is... Oh, so they're... Okay. So Senator Mazie Hirono, remember her? She was one of the worst people during those confirmation hearings. The one from Hawaii, the lunatic. Spreading a lie that Dems use Social Security and Medicare to pay undocumented immigrants to come into the country. And Elon says, no, not just those programs. Democrats also use every other government money tool to attract and retain illegals like unemployment insurance, disability insurance, tax rebates of non-existent income, small business association loans, student loans, COVID payments, FEMA money for luxury hotels, et cetera, because that's how they're trying to get their future Democrat voters. Wall Street apes. All week long, Democrats have lied, saying Elon and Doge are cutting Social Security benefits for seniors. But the truth is, Democrats did everything possible to destroy Social Security by qualifying illegal aliens to be put on Social Security for life. This whistleblower says they were incentivized, according to this Wall Street Apes video here, they were incentivized to qualify illegals for long-term disability and Social Security for life, so they were set for life. They wanted us to try to identify them in such a way that they would qualify for long-term Social Security disability benefits. Now long-term Social Security disability is for life, so if they get identified and qualified, they're as good as set up for life. It doesn't sound like a refugee to me, just being honest. It sounds like someone who's planning on staying here. So they instructed us to try to identify, to try to get the client, because once they arrive here, they're now called clients. So they told us that we need to talk to the client, ask them if they had any headaches, reoccurring headaches, any lower back problems, anything that would qualify you for Social Security long-term disability. Yes, it is insanity. But in order to get Social Security disability benefits, don't you need a Social Security number? Well, we were instructed in the meeting that one of the first things we were supposed to do was to sign them up for Social Security. This is unbelievable. So they come over here, they get a Social Security number, right? They become legal? Correct. Democrats wanted illegal migrants on permanent Social Security so they could drain our system. That's the Cloward and Piven strategy, by the way. The Marxist, Leninist, Obama agenda doctrine to drain our system, and then we'd pay for them until the day they die. They'd never have to work a day in their lives in America. And then hopefully in exchange, they'll vote Democrat, according to this person, this whistleblower. Good God. Here's a clip from Jack Posobiec saying what the globalists are doing to Ireland is disgusting. They're flooding it with migrants, illegal alien invaders. The indigenous people of the Emerald Isle are the Irish. Make Ireland Irish again. Here's a post. Look, son, those people who cut their son's dick off, they think Elon Musk is going too far. I mean, right? Oh, I see what you did there. Free Palestine of beer. Cheers. I have a couple Steins listed on eBay. I like selling mugs and hats and all the wonderful things I find at garage sales, estate sales, and thrift shops. I love doing that. It is a war on information indeed. Oh, check this out. Have you seen this video?
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right? They're going off of one angle. A couple times hitting her my baton.
No way. We're not. Did I also just hear the battery chirp?
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right?
She smashed a competitor in the skull with her baton in a race. But she's crying that people, yeah, she's physically hurt, but you're not concerned about my mental, right? This person seems out of their mind. And did I really just hear the ceiling bird chirp?
They're going off of one angle. A couple times hitting her my baton, got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit. I know my intentions, and I would never hit somebody on purpose. They're assuming my character, calling me ghetto, racist slurs, death threats, all of this just because of a 9-second video. Everybody has feelings. So
I don't know if you watch this video. I mean, that's not a. I don't buy it for a second. Layla Everett been charged with assault and battery after hitting Kaylin Tucker in the head with a baton during the race. Yeah, that wasn't a normal move. Oh, check this story out. Colin Rugg reporting, DEI activist is allegedly caught promising to share exam answers with minority air traffic controller candidates in audio obtained by the Daily Mail. They say they've now have audio of Shelton Snow promising to give test answers for an aviation entry exam. There is some valuable piece of information that I have taken a screenshot of, and I'm going to send that to you via email. He could be heard saying in an audio allegedly from 2014. I'm about 99.99% sure that that's exactly how you need to answer each question. The scandal went viral years ago. However, the audio proof appears to be new. Snow was an air traffic operations supervisor based out of New York, as reported by the outlet. Daily Mail reports that the information was given to Black people, women, and other minorities, but kept from whites to minimize competition. A former National Black Coalition of Federal Aviation Employees member says he knows multiple people who cheated and are controlling planes as we speak. Holy shit. If this has happened, you need to do a retest on everyone. Check out that audio. Rod D. Martin reporting that there's a major political upset in Greenland as center-right party wins the election. Anti-American leftists are out and pro-business reformers are in. Check out that thread. Here's an update on that Maui police chief, John Pelletier, who gave the order to trap victims in the Lahaina fire. He's now been named as a co-conspirator in the Diddy case. Pelletier also happened to be the incident commander during the Las Vegas shooting. Pelletier forcibly took a Diddy victim at gunpoint from Vegas to California to be abused by Diddy. He was posing as a sheriff, executing a fake warrant, according to the suit. Even after all these incidents, he was still named chief of Maui police, and then the devastating fires happened shortly after. Many questions looming as to whether or not children went missing after the fires, when entire families disappeared without a trace. Government disputes the claims. They have not been verified, they say, and the story goes much deeper than what we already know. We got to dig into that story. And that is what I had planned to talk to you about on today's show. Sorry, I'm watching a video of, looks like someone on meth. Super unfortunate. Some of the highlights, though, that are kind of trending right now, I'll just tell you. In Moscow, the CHP-16 Montenegro power station is unexpectedly caught fire. Cause of the fire still unknown. Judge Chukan is granted a request by several state attorneys general for discovery on Doge. Namely, they're trying to dox the identities of Doge personnel and the parameters of Doge's and Musk's authority. I think they're trying to ramp up their intimidation campaigns. They're trying to hurt these people. Chutkin, Trump ruling. What was the other one she had? Oh, Chutkin denying presidential immunity from prosecution, had it vacated, and President Trump got money back for it. Oh, Chutkin was putting the gag order on Trump in the fake election interference case. Yeah, gag order. Get out of here. Anyway, follow that story. All these judges, I don't know what it's going to take. These lower court judges run the country now. I don't really understand what's going on. There's a UN probe that found that Israel carried out genocidal acts by destroying Gaza's fertility center, imposing a siege, and blockading aid. Israel rejects the claims. It looks like we might be getting closer to peace in Ukraine, possibly. Not really hearing that out of Israel, Gaza. I would love to hear that. Yeah, the judiciary system. Federal judge blocked President Trump from revoking the security clearance of Perkins Coie, the law firm that helped develop the Russia hoax. The phony FISA warrants, the Hillary Clinton campaign, the Democrat Party. Perkins Coie was eyeballs deep running a coup, election interference, criminal acts. And then you have a judge saying that President Trump can't revoke the security clearance. Something seriously wrong in the judicial system, where the liberal judges and activists are likely bought. And how long until Speaker Thune, Senate GOP, and Senator John Kennedy start impeachments against these radical judges? It's an overreach. And those were the trending stories I wanted to cover on my way out the door. Bam, stop sharing. Okay, so follow us on all the places. Yeah, the ceiling bird. Seriously, I heard the ceiling bird, Bella's chance. Okay, David, are you saying that you thought that it was an accident, that new camera angle convinced you? It looked like after she hit her once, she wanted to do it again. That's what I saw. She's batting crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it was an accident. Oh, okay. Yeah. If you, and that's what I said about those 7 fraud states in 2020. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, what was it? North Carolina, Arizona, Michigan, all the states that magically paused their counting with Trump ahead hundreds of thousands of votes. You got to throw them all out and do a revote. And you do it same day, signature verification. Come on in. We can't trust it. It's been poisoned. It's like if people sneak into the club. Everyone out. Come back around. Show me your wristband. Show me your hand stamp. We're going to check everyone's IDs one more time because people were propping the back door. I had to do that as a promoter in Long Beach. Bands were letting people sneak in without paying a cover charge. It's like, look, the cover charge helps fund the club, which gives you the stage and the PA system and the place to perform. Yeah, we got to get your $5, $10 cover per head. And it's a 21 and over place, so we don't know if the people in there are armed. Are they underage? Have they paid their cover? Everyone out. We're gonna check everyone again, and that's what you got to do at the aviation. Now, anyone if that's been going on since 2014 for 11 years, I think you need to say everybody's potentially poisoned. We need to retest everyone. Anyway. Yeah, time to retest everyone. All right, everyone. I'm going to bounce for today. Thank you for joining us. As it says at the screen, the New American Media is on the following places. Just do a search. Yeah, no. When are they going to arrest these evil people? I'm waiting. I'm sending Kash Patel and Pam Bondi an email saying, name 5 things you actually did work on last week. Because we're waiting for the perp walks. These people are obviously guilty. Just indict them. They indicted Trump over fake stuff. They framed him over fake things. You can at least arrest the guilty people that are obviously guilty for real things. Oh, okay. Yeah, she hit her clearly. Of course she hit her clearly. That's what I was thinking. All right. So if you search the New American Media on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, and YouTube, you can link up with our accounts. On Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. And that's all scrolling at the bottom here. On X, we're at American_media_, and we ask that you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify and Apple under the Agree to Disagree Show. The Agree to Disagree Show is the umbrella that will blanket cover the TNAM AM shows as well. Our donation links here, patreon.com/the New American Media, at Brian Engelman on Venmo, at $ Brian Engelman on Cash App, and Fuzz Installment on PayPal if you would like to participate in assisting our program in all of our endeavors. Whew, a lot of stuff to cover. Hey, thank you, Bella's Chance. Love having you in the program. You and David and Kenneth and everybody else out there lurking. This is your 20-second warning. To anyone else out there lurking, type a comment real quick. I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, please link up with us in the other platforms that we have. Get an X account if you haven't done it yet. Do the free one. They don't pay me for advertising, but at least get a free X account. I took a survey for Spotify, and they were asking which social media sites you use and why, and which one is your preferred. And the options I was given, I'm like, I prefer X. It's the only free speech platform. Google, YouTube, they've censored and demonetized me. Facebook, Instagram, they've censored and demonetized me. They've deleted my fucking accounts on multiple occasions with no explanation. I'm like, X doesn't do that. Twitter did, but X hasn't. Yep, Kenneth says comment. Yes, thank you again, David. Kenneth, appreciate your very... That was so damn literal. But yes, we'll be back again tomorrow on the TNAM AM Show, covering all the interesting stuff happening on Earth. Signing out until then, I appreciate you. I love you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Peace. Take care. Peace. I think I said that out of order, and it paused stop the show early. There we go. Till next time. Baseball's almost here. Super moon it's a full moon tonight. Spring is here. Baseball's here. Full moons. I'm actually excited to start cutting my grass, people. I'm actually getting excited to get out and start doing yard work again. I feel alive doing that stuff. Anyway, take care, everyone. Peace.